Tonight we're going to open the eyes of the blind. Not that you are blind, but there are a lot of other people who are blind. And I'm going to enlist your help in giving them good sight, good vision, to end their blindness and to bring them into the light. Into the light. I'm going to talk about politics tonight. No, I'm not going to tell you who to vote for in the presidential election. You're smart. I'm going to talk about politics regarding a couple of the amendments that we are voting for. We're voting against here in Florida. Some of you may have heard me speak about this before, but I think what I have to say is it's worth repeating, not just for you, but because we're being live streamed this afternoon. And that means that a whole bunch of other people can hear what I have to say on these two amendments. And you have an opportunity now to do some politicking and evangelizing on your own, because I am told that when we live stream that there is a share button. Am I correct? Yes. You see, you think I'm a complete caveman. I even know this. You press the share button and you send it out to all of your friends, especially those who live here in Florida, but even those who live in other states who may be falling into the same errors that some people here in Florida are falling into. So let's see, what amendments is old Father O interested in? Of course, you know, Amendment 4. It has to do with what? Abortion. Okay, I'll go into just briefly. You've heard enough maybe, but maybe not enough, because some of you are just back from up north, correct? Right? So maybe you're not on top of some of the issues that we're dealing with here in Florida. And then I'm going to talk about Amendment 3. Amendment 3. Who knows what that one's about? Marijuana. Okay. You remember Cheech and Chong, don't you? Okay, that's what we're going to talk about. Okay. Now, we have to talk about it. Why? Okay, first of all, Christians have an obligation to speak the truth. Have an obligation to speak the truth. Number one. Number two, Christians have an obligation to tell people when they are committing a serious sin. You have to tell people when they're doing something wrong. If we do not, if we keep our mouths shut on political issues, what happens? Those who do not believe in God will speak, and God's word will have no place in our society. And think of what that would be like. And unfortunately, we're coming very close. We're coming very close. All right. So, Amendment 4. Look, if you are for Amendment 4, you're committing a serious sin. Okay? As a matter of fact, I would say it's a mortal sin. Why? You don't hear about mortal sin anymore, do you? Well, there's such a thing as mortal sin. It kills the soul. If you believe that abortion is okay up until birth, you got a problem. If you believe that anybody can perform an abortion, doesn't even have to be a doctor, you have a problem. It's a sin against the child, it's a sin against the mother. And if you believe that a parent does not have to be notified regarding a child having an abortion, you've got a serious problem. So any school nurse or guidance counselor can take your little girl and say, oh yes, it's okay, you can have an abortion. In the meantime, you can't give out an aspirin in school, but you can have a child that's pregnant have an abortion performed on her. Come on. Come on. Something is wrong with that kind of reasoning. Something evil is involved with that kind of reasoning. You can have no part of that. And tell your friends I said so. When you go out for dinner tonight, you know, the early bird special, if I ever shut up, Talk about it. Call your friends, your relatives. Talk about it. The groups you belong to. It's evil. It's evil, and unfortunately, I am told that at the moment it's pretty close to passing with 60%. Could you imagine? 60% of voters think it's okay. Okay. Let me leave that just for a moment because I don't have to go any further. It's just simply common sense. Common sense. Second one, and this is Amendment 3, and it has to do with marijuana. Okay, marijuana, commonly known as pot. Pot. Okay. Most of us, of certain generation, we're all here, we're millennials here, aren't we? I'm doing the best I can. Some of you might be millennials, I don't know. But I think most of us are a little bit beyond millennial. And we might think of pot as, the old stupid canard. It's harmless. It's harmless. It's no worse than having a beer. Oh, it's harmless, huh? It's harmless. Let me tell you something about marijuana. Look, Old Father O has been around a long time. I've been around a long time. I know you don't believe it, but I've been around a long time. I'm involved at St. Matthew's House. I know what pot does to people. We have a rehabilitation program there, and every one of them that comes in tells us, I should say 95%, they began their drug habit with marijuana. It's a gateway drug. That's what it is. It gets them started. I'm also, to a lesser degree, involved with the David Lawrence Center. We have people coming to David Lawrence Center that are also hooked on drugs, beginning with marijuana, and now many are hooked on marijuana, that harmless drug. Now we're finding out, well, it's not that harmless after all. Not that harmless after all. Let me tell you, there are two articles I'm going to refer to. Take note. Take note. Live stream people, take note. All right? Go to the Wall Street Journal. May 11th. Big article by a psychobiologist from Harvard University talking about all of the dangers of marijuana. Okay? Harvard. I'm not going to tell you exactly what was in it because I'm going to quote another journal that covers the same ground. I know you're not going to believe this, folks. I'll say this in church, excuse me. The New York Times. All right, I said it. I got it out. I got it out. Okay. That's the issue of October the 5th. New York Times front page, and it goes on for two other pages inside. And these are the biggest doctors and psychologists and sociologists in the country that are saying, wait a minute, this is a very dangerous drug. And it's become more dangerous over the years. Why? Because the pot that we knew, but it didn't inhale, had about 5% THC in it. That's a very, very powerful and potent additive. Today, the marijuana that's being used has 99%. 99%. And this is what's going on. This is what's going on. They have found that people who use pot, smoke a joint, as they say, it's extremely addictive. About 20% of people between 18 and 25 years old, 20% 18 and 25 years old, develop an addiction to this harmless drug. An addiction. Now, you say, well, it's only 20%. Well, let me tell you what else happens. It causes psychotic episodes, schizophrenia, delusions, This is all in the New York Times. It causes depression and ADHD. And you wonder why there is so much mental illness among our young people today? Do you wonder why people say, what's going on? You know, these kids are really, they're nuts. Who ever heard of such a thing, that they need so much counseling, that they need so many drugs to lift them out of their depression and their delusional state? Take a look at why. And they say that 81% of these young people, 18 to 25 years old, show symptoms of a psychological disorder. 81%. Symptoms of a psychological disorder. That's the New York Times. The New York Times. Okay. What does it do physically? Oh, say, oh, it's only, it's not just psychological stuff. It's physical. It's physical. Okay, what's it do? Heart trouble, kidney failure. Heart trouble and kidney failure. And for pregnant women, it causes harm to the fetus. And just this morning, I'm listening to the radio, and the Florida Health Department is warning women not to smoke marijuana because it can cause a miscarriage. Now, what more do I have to say? What more do I have to say? But there is a little bit more to say, because there are certain people, they tell me at least 63% of the state is going to vote yes. 63% is going to vote yes. Why? I'll tell you why. There's big money behind it. Big money. It's a $33 billion a year industry. $33 billion a year. And money is coming in from every unscrupulous organization you can imagine, and especially from George Soros with his harm reduction baloney. There's no such thing as harm reduction. You're causing the harm and then making believe that you're reducing the harm. He's not a good guy. And those marijuana growers who want to come into the state, they're not here for the benefit of you or your children. They're here to make money. That's what they're here for. Money is the root of all evil. Go find out who's supporting this Amendment 3. And you'll see that these are people that are not out for your good, for the good of our state, or for the good of our country. When we talk about marijuana, oftentimes they will say, but we're doing it that way we can control the drug. If we legalize recreational marijuana, we can control the drug. And we'll make sure that only good stuff gets out there and not the bad stuff. Oh, hardy har har. They're full of you-know-what. Baloney. You can't control it. Go up to New York City. You can get high walking down the street. They opened up these legal pot shops, and then what happens? All of the illegal pushers are out on the street, and they're selling it cheaper. Selling it cheaper, you can't pass up a bargain. They give us this lie that not only can it be controlled, but this is for the good. This is a good thing. Let me tell you something about a good thing. When Adam and Eve were in the garden there, and Satan came to tempt them, what did he say? Hey, look at this nice apple. It's a good thing. It's delicious. And they bit. And look where they ended up. So what do they tell us? We can regulate this. And also, it's going to help out the schools, because we're going to give the money that we make from selling legal pot to the schools to help our children. Do you believe that? You have to be a moron to believe that. Who's going to pay for all the kids in rehab? I've seen them. It starts with marijuana. It leads to a higher degree of marijuana. It leads to psychotic episodes. I've seen it. I see it in the hospital when they bring them in. I know what's going on. And then, of course, it doesn't just end there. As I said, it leads to other drugs. But they can even put what into the marijuana? Fentanyl. You got it. You got it. So once they get you hooked and they sell it to you, well, this is good marijuana. I got it in the pot shop. Who's going to stop you? With the officer going to come around and say, let me see your receipt? Yeah, you don't know where you got it. And once they get you hooked, with a little bit of THC, you need more and more and more. Like any drug, it never, ever satisfies itself until it kills the person. And I've seen them killed with the opioids and the fentanyl. Tells, oh, well, we'll make sure there's no fentanyl in the pot. Get out. Get out. Tell me that. Tell me that. Go after the fentanyl, for crying out loud. Don't play that fentanyl card. Go after the criminals that are bringing it over the border and the cartels that are selling it in our own country. Go after them. But don't try to lie to me and tell me, we're going to control this and make sure that only good stuff gets to the people that we're selling it to. And we're going to give the money to the schools. We're going to help the kids. No, you're not. You're going to have a nation full of druggies. That's what you're going to have. And we're pretty close to it right now. We're pretty close to a nation that is suffering from terrible addictions amongst our young people. People worry about China and they worry about Russia. Let me tell you something. If this keeps up, they're going to win the battle against America simply by getting us all drugged up, where kids don't know what they're doing anymore, where people don't know right from wrong anymore. They can win without a single shot. So I'm not telling you who to vote for, but I'm telling you right now. Vote no on 3, vote no on 4. Because if these 2 amendments pass, the America that we knew will be no more. God love you.